Welcome back to Time Out with J and G. It's J over here. It's G over there.
Yo, what is going on, everyone?
Today we are back. You've seen the title. This is our conference championship preview. We have the Washington Commanders surprising, I think, the entire league and everybody on their way to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And then you have the Buffalo.
Not surprising, everyone. I called it.
I mean, like from when the season started. I don't think
Yeah,
thought
from
they
the
were going to
season
be.
started.
Yeah, from the season started, I don't think. And then on the other side, the duel we feel like we see every year, the Buffalo Bills going to Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. But we're not going to get into that yet. That's for later in the episode. There's a couple things I want to talk about before we get into this. Derek Lively, reported from Shams Charania, Derek Lively has sustained a small fracture in his foot and expected to miss 2 to 3 months.
Wow.
So he's going to be out until like March, April. Like it's going to be pushed into playoffs until he's back. Big blow for this Mavericks team that obviously was in the finals last year and is still playing pretty good this year, but have dealt with a lot of injuries between Luka and Kyrie, and now missing one of their two center rotation guys, him and Daniel Gafford, is a tough loss. Tough loss for this Mavericks team in the Western Conference.
Yes, it is 100%, especially when you're, like you said, when you're relying on him to either do your starting minutes or your backup minutes at your center position. And he's been really, really good. He was a cornerstone of that team that made it to the finals just last year.
Yeah.
And so losing him is going to be a big piece, especially since he's, 21?
Yeah, he's super young.
Super young. He's super athletic. I hope it shouldn't be anything too serious, but this next month and a half, what do you say?
2 to 3.
2 to 3 months can be a very, very pivotal point in how this team does going forward into the playoffs and what seeding they get.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to talk about is Bradley Beal. The reports have been coming out the past couple of days about like which teams he would waive his no trade clause for. But now Beal's agent just came out like an hour ago. It said that there's no truth to reports that Beal is willing to waive his no trade clause for teams like the Bucks, Heat, Lakers, and Nuggets. The quote is, speaking with the Arizona Republic at length, Bartelstein said, the reports that are out there are created out of thin air that Beal would lift his no-trade clause if Milwaukee, Denver, Miami, or Los Angeles Lakers were trade destinations. Bradley Beal's entire focus has been and is on getting healthy with his ankle and helping turn things around for the Suns. So, obviously, that's his agent talking. If the team's going to trade him, he still has the ability to waive his no-trade clause and can get traded. But as of right now, it looks like there is a real possibility Bradley Beal is on this team after the trade deadline.
Well, then, with that speaking, who do you think could potentially trade for Jimmy Butler? Because Jimmy Butler wants to be traded. And if the Heat have any type of, mindset to it, or, if Pat Riley has any common sense left, he'll trade him and try and get as much as he can for him right now instead of just losing him in free agency.
Yeah, and that's something I said on my video, I think on Sunday or Monday earlier this week, that, it's very clear that Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley are having an ego off right now. They're just which one of them's going to have the harder head to I want to get traded. I'm not trading you, blah, blah, blah. And Pat Riley's got to understand that yes, if you want to have an ego and not trade Jimmy Butler just to say that, I won or whatever, he's just going to walk in free agency for nothing. You're going to get absolutely nothing for Jimmy Butler. And I get it. Right now, Jimmy Butler's trade value is probably at one of the lowest points it's ever been in his career. But it's at least getting something back. Now, again, if you're Miami, do you want Bradley Beal? Probably not. But I would assume there might be at least one pick involved and maybe another player that might get thrown into the trade, maybe a Josh Okogie, something like that. So, if you're Pat Riley, you just got it. You got to move on from Jimmy Butler. But it looks like the Suns might not be the destination for that. It seems like the Warriors have also pulled out of the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes. So, I don't know. Maybe the teams just work out to the point where Jimmy Butler is still on the team, and I don't know.
I don't know. It was almost set in stone. It was kind of he's going to get traded to the Suns.
Yeah.
And they were going to build that three, and now it's kind of just turned right upside down. It's crazy. It
is also crazy.
Speaking of Jimmy Butler, I do believe he just received a 2-game suspension from the Heat.
Yeah, yes, he did. I had that marked here somewhere. That maybe I didn't. I thought I made a post about that. But yeah, Shams also reported. I'm just going to go to Shams' page here real quick while we're doing this, because he reported that Jimmy Butler. Okay, The Miami Heat are planning to suspend Jimmy Butler for 2 games, sources tell ESPN. Butler missed a team flight Wednesday and had plans to join the Heat tonight. Now Miami is keeping him home from his 2-game road trip. And this is a total now of 9 games this season. He's going to be suspended because he had the 7 games earlier for the conduct detrimental to the team or whatever when this stuff first started. And now, these 2 games. So Jimmy Butler's doing anything he can to force himself out of Miami, but again, Pat Riley is one of those guys that just doesn't want to lose, so he's not gonna bow down to a Jimmy Butler.
And I mean, and we kind of seen it with Pat Riley in his head coaching when he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, with Magic Johnson and all them. He didn't want to lose, and it, I don't know how accurate it is, but winning time, the Lakers and all that, I watched that, but there were times during that point to where like him and Magic butted heads, and he won. But I don't think this is one of the things where he can sit there and be like, oh, well, I won. When you're going to hurt the team in the long run.
Exactly. It's been a really shitty situation. And I think I said in my last video that I'm done talking about it, at least in my videos, just because it's just more and more stuff coming out that they're both starting to act kind of like childish in the sense of like, it's just like, I don't know. They're just doing whatever they can to get themselves right, to prove themselves right. And it's just annoying. And, I don't really want to speak on it too much more until the trade request or until the trade happens. When Jimmy Butler gets traded, we'll come back on here and talk about it. Same with my channel. But it's getting annoying, and I just do not feel like talking about it anymore because it's not going anywhere.
It's the same old thing that we've been talking about for like weeks to months now. Jimmy Butler wants out. Miami doesn't want to trade him. Blah, 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 blah. These are the teams that are going to trade for Jimmy. Oh, wait. No, it's not because Jimmy's agent says something else. It's been a hell of a year for agents.
It's between Jimmy Butler's agent getting called up by Shams and now Bradley Beal's agent. It's been nothing short of a pain in the ass for all of this.
Very much so.
So is there anything else you want to kind of talk about before we get into the conference championship games?
Shout out to, I guess I got to say it like this. Shout out to the Ohio State University for winning the national championship over Notre Dame. Notre Dame put up a little bit of a fight. They did score the first touchdown of the game, but Ohio State kind of just manhandled them from that point on. Notre Dame tried to keep it close, but then Will Howard threw I believe a 56-yard pass, which kind of just iced the game entirely. So shout out to Ryan Day for, I guess, quieting the doubters out there. Shout out to Will Howard and the entirety of the Ohio State team. And I'll be looking forward to next season.
Yeah, they had a really, really good run throughout this entire playoffs. And, at the end of the day, as much as I don't like them, they proved themselves worthy of winning. And you can't really take that away from them. Notre Dame just looked like they weren't – like, Notre Dame's been a good team all year, but they just didn't really seem to have it that night. You know what I mean? They just didn't really – you could just tell from right away. Again, like I said, Notre Dame went down early and scored a touchdown. But then it very quickly became, Ohio State is just the better team. And, it was just – that was what was going to happen. So, like I said, shout out to the Ohio State University, national champions. And, next year hopefully is a big, big year for the Big Ten again.
Hopefully the SEC can reclaim their throne. But
I don't know. Ever since they started paying players, the SEC has kind of been whack, Maybe it's because they've been paying kids for years under the table. Now that everybody else can pay them, they're not getting their people anymore. But, hey, that's why Saban got out early.
Yeah, that's why Saban got out. But no, just quickly on the topic again, the college football playoff, I feel like was a massive success.
The only issue I had with the college football playoffs is I felt like it just started dragging out really long.
Yeah.
Like when it got to the point that it was like a game, and then we had to wait another week for a game, and then we'd wait another week for a game. It started to kind of drag itself out. Because it used to be like pretty early in January was the championship game, and now we're like damn near 3 weeks into January. You know what I mean? Like I feel like even if they could have, and I get it, it's with NFL or with football, it's hard to play multiple games in a week, but it just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like the last 2 to 3 weeks of the college football season, like with the playoffs, just kind of lost a lot of the run it had because it felt like it started dragging on.
Yeah, it's just when you go to something like this, because we're all used to, like the the 4-team playoff. You know what I mean? You get like 2 extra games. It's kind of cool. But now it's just like or 3 extra games, 2 extra weeks. But now it's elongated even more. It's kind of just like it lost that kind of pop,
Yeah.
but it's also to the point to where we got to like readjust. Where it's just like, okay, there's a lot more football to be watched. You know what I mean? We just got to readjust because we got used to like the one BCS national championship game, then to the 4-team college football playoff, and now we went to the 12-team. So it is going to be a little bit of adjusting for like the 2 extra weeks that we have.
Do you think there would ever be a chance they take away a regular season game? You know what I mean? To try to shorten it a little bit. Like I know money wise, it probably doesn't make any sense, but like it's like I said, because it's like what 12 regular season games.
Yes.
And I guess 11's a weird number. So, like, it would have to go to 10. And then it's like, is 10 even enough?
I do believe every team gets 2 bye weeks. So you could take 1 bye week away.
You could do that. You could. But then they just take one of the bye weeks and every team still plays 12 but only gets 1 bye week.
Yep. But then it also the scheduling conflict because some teams will have, their bye week 4 or like week 3 and then others will have, like week 9 or 10 or something. It'd be a little weird, but I feel like it could be manageable.
Yeah, because like I said, especially now that the NFL playoffs is like getting to the divisional round, like it's getting serious. A lot of people were just kind of. This national championship game was one of the least hyped national championship games I've seen in a long time. It just felt like everybody was so focused on the NFL, and it was MLK Day. Obviously, the inauguration. The basketball had a whole slate of games. Like there was so much going on Monday that like I felt like the college football playoff was like okay, like cool, you know what I mean? And I felt like it could have been better for the game if it was the previous Monday before everything happened.
Or I know you're going to be conflicting with the NFL, but like Saturday night college football championship game that'll draw, in my opinion, a lot more than on a Monday.
I agree that it would draw more, but I still don't think it's doing. You know what I mean? I think it just I think it just drug out too long. I think like it's got to be a week or two earlier. Like it's just like I said, maybe taking out one of those off weeks or something like that, just to like it's like okay, I felt like everyone was just like okay, get the college football playoffs out of the way so we can get the NFL. You know what I mean? If you get it a week earlier, if you get it during the wild card week instead of the divisional round, you're still competing with the NFL and you're still going to have that issue. But like, you know what I mean? Like the further you get into the NFL playoffs, the less and less people are talking about the college football season. So I just feel like the earlier you can get it done and out of the way, the more people will pay attention to it.
Yeah, 100%. Also, we also got to admit this was probably the least hyped up college
100%.
football championship we've had in a little bit now.
100%.
So there's that, but no, I am still behind the 12-team playoff. I'm still 100% behind it. I think they could just do it a little bit differently, like I've talked about before. Eliminate the keep the 5 automatic bids for the conference champions, but the top 4 seeds that get the bye are the top 4 teams in the country, not just because you won your conference champion. But I do think we have to reward winning your conference championship because at the end of the day, if you don't, it'll devalue it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like the whole thing with Bama and SMU this year. I think putting SMU in was the right decision because SMU made their conference championship. Bama did not. So that's a whole other rant that we have done in the past. But, college football season has ended. How do you feel?
You know what? I'm always sad when the college football season ends because it's such a fun time. Like everybody loves college football. Well, I don't say everybody, but a lot of people love college football. It's so much fun. But again, like I said, it started dragging on where it's like, okay, let's wrap it up. Let's move on to the next season. You know what I mean? And part of that's always, and I'm sure you understand, a lot of people understand, once your favorite team is out of it, it's like you lose your interest right away. It's like, okay. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's always a bummer when any sports season ends, the NBA, college football, NFL. But I'm excited for next season. I really am excited for next season. So I think Penn State's going to be good. I know, we're losing some good defensive players. Abdul Carter, obviously. Tyler Warren's going to the NFL. But Nick Singleton and Braylon Allen both said they're coming back. So we'll still have a running back core. Drew Aller said he's coming back. So we'll see how that goes next season. And hopefully we can bring in some wide receivers. So I'm excited. How about you for Tennessee?
I'm excited. We got Nico Iamaleava back for another year. We did lose some key defensive pieces on the defensive...
Sorry, my hair's a fucking mess right now.
You're good. We lost some key defensive back pieces, but I hope we can fill them in wide receiver. We're going to have to go out there and Hope either guys step up, or we're gonna have to get a couple people in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm excited. I'm excited for this team, especially making it as far as we did. That with a red shirt freshman quarterback,
Yeah.
and I'm just hoping it just keeps building. You know what I mean? I hope next year we can make it a couple more rounds, and hopefully in the next 4 or 5 years we can have a national championship under our belt.
Hell yeah. I agree. I guess that's gonna do it for the college football talk today, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we're going to jump into our our NFL championship preview. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our partner. I am proud to announce we are partnered with W Energy Drink.
W was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash, all while tasting amazing.
If you go to the link in the description, it will take you to our sponsored flavor, Push and Punch.
Use code TIMEOUTJG, that is TIMEOUTJG, at checkout for 10% off your order.
Thank you to W Energy for partnering with us, and back to the episode. Now that we've heard a word from our partner, W Energy, let's talk about the divisional games first before we jump into the championship games, right? I feel like that's only fair.
Do you want to talk about the more interesting one first?
No. I want to get the Eagles-Rams kind of out of the way. The Eagles were just a better team. And I felt like it's kind of what it was. Like, I know the Rams kind of had a chance toward the end of the game, but I don't think at any point in time did I really feel the Eagles were going to lose that game. And, yeah, like I said, the Eagles, a really, really good team. The Rams, start the season rough with a lot of injuries, came back and, really kind of powered themselves into the playoffs, were able to beat a smoking hot Minnesota Vikings team that was just phenomenal all season. And it's a tough way to lose here in the second round. But, the Rams had a good season. The Rams had a good season, like, compared to what a lot of people thought they were going to be. And, shout out to the Eagles, man.
Shout out to the Eagles. I mean, their defense has been playing really, really good.
Jalen Carter was unblockable.
Yes. For, like, the first time in his career, he was just everywhere.
He's been really good all year. He's been really, really good all year. I know, you can't put your biases aside. I know it.
I don't like the Eagles. I hate the Eagles. I hate the Eagles.
You could always tell when you don't like somebody because you'll just say some shit like that. It's like, well, that's objectively not true, but I get it. You don't like them, so it's
I don't like the Eagles. Jalen Hurts suck. I'm just kidding. Jalen Hurts a great quarterback.
Saquon Barkley was phenomenal. I mean, I think the absolute no-brainer pick for Offensive Player of the Year. I know we both had him as Offensive Player of the Year. He just he's been unstoppable the entire season, and it's not stopped at all in the playoffs. And I think he's poised for another big game this week. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about. The Eagles just look like the better team. The Rams were happy to be there, and they just weren't able to hang with them.
Yeah, I mean, when your running back outrushes your quarterback for passing,
yeah,
it's telltale sign that you have a really, really good run game. Saquon went for 205, 2 touchdowns. Hurts went for 128 through the air, no turnovers, but Hurts did have a rushing touchdown. He had 7 carries, 70 yards. This Eagles running attack is deadly.
It really is.
Like, everyone was talking about Lamar and Derrick Henry, but no one really talks about Hurts and Barkley. You know what I mean? Like, not on that level, but in my opinion, Hurts is not the runner Lamar is, but the combo of them two is up there with
100%.
Barkley and Hurts is up there with Henry and Lamar.
100%.
This is how it is, and I think they're running the ball really, really well, but I think they're gonna have to get that passing attack opened up to beat the Commanders.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to get that opened up. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith cannot combine for 6 catches and about 35 yards and beat the Commanders.
I agree.
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and while we're talking about them, we might as well jump over to that game. The 6th-seeded Washington Commander go into Detroit. You called this one. And upset the Detroit Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown was on his podcast before making comments about who's Diami Brown. Diami Brown outplayed him in this game and really made it awkward. And then subsequently, the Lions lose both their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator to head coaching jobs. So a rough last week for Lions fans. And honestly, I couldn't care less because they're some of the most obnoxious fans in the NFL. I get it. You guys haven't been good for a long, long time. You don't really know how to handle success. But you guys have been nothing but obnoxious the entire way through it. And, The Lions have some likable players, but the fan base is one of the worst in the NFL. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the games that, you needed Jared Goff to play good.
Yep.
And 313 yards and a touchdown, that's not bad. But when you throw 3 picks.
Yep.
And I mean, Jamison Williams threw a pick also.
Yeah.
So 14 picks, and it's just, this is not the regular season. This is not a time to where you can afford your quarterback to throw 3, 4, 5 picks and still win.
He threw 5 picks early in the season, and they won the game.
Yeah. I mean,
shit like that just doesn't happen in the playoffs.
No, it doesn't, because you're playing better competition and people are more amped up and ready to go. But I do want to give a big shout out to Jane Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
Jane Daniels, 299, 2 touchdowns. He had 16 carries, 51 yards on the ground. He's just been playing really, really good.
He is arguably, and maybe not even arguably anymore, having the greatest rookie season for a quarterback I think we've ever seen. At least I've ever seen with my 2 eyes. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's I know. Well, Andrew Luck was really, really good his rookie year too. But I mean, to be in the conference championship with a team that, again, going into the season, nobody thought was going to be this good, and to pretty much run away with rookie of the year when they had a guy like Caleb Williams in the draft class that a lot of people expected to be, or still expect to be, really, really good. And the fact that he's just been he's been everything for this Washington team. And as a Cowboys fan, seeing these 2 teams in the conference championship is damn, man. Pretty much, if 3 out of these 4 teams win a Super Bowl, I'm like, damn. Because obviously, the Commanders and the Eagles win a Super Bowl, it's like, damn. But then, obviously, the Chiefs getting a 3-peat, it's like, all right, man, come on. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm in an absolute hell as a Cowboys fan right now. But, maybe this will force Jerry Jones to do something, which it won't. Anyway, we don't have to get into them right now. The Lions just kind of fell flat on their face. A lot of that was behind Jared Goff throwing his 3 interceptions. It was just not a good showing. It was just not a good showing. They've been decimated by injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So I think a lot of people expected this Lions defense to struggle against this Commanders offense. But the Lions offense put up over 500 yards and 31 points. You know what I mean? The Lions offense, the 4 total turnovers absolutely is what lost you this game. Because the offense put up points and they put up yards. So I know a lot of Lions fans that were very, very upset with Ben Johnson because it seemed like he took the job as soon as they lost, and like, oh well, he wasn't really locked in this playoff game. Listen, man, he called an offensive game that got you over 500 yards, got you 31 points. You got to eventually look at your quarterback and say, bro, stop throwing interceptions. I don't know what else to call it.
100%. But no, the Lions keeping their coordinators for the this year was kind of a surprise. But after this year, you kind of knew they were going to lose them to head coaching positions. It was just the writing on the wall. They were just trying to catch it now before something happens, and their offense drags down or something like that. But it's too late now. You lost both your coordinators. You gotta get some new ones, and hopefully for Detroit's sake, they're good. Hopefully Dan Campbell can go out there and acquire an offensive coordinator and I believe defensive coordinator too, and replenish some roles. But since we're talking about coordinators and head coaches, massive shout out to Dan Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any hard feelings towards him or not, being a Cowboys fan, but I do want to give a massive shout out to Dan Quinn, who should be in the running for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, obviously, I was very unhappy with Dan Quinn's last game in Dallas with that disaster class our defense put on against the Packers in that playoff game. But again, I think that was another kind of I can understand where some of the Lions fans coming on, because it's like when you have a coordinator that you almost know is taking a head coaching job in the offseason, it's like, how locked in are they really to finish out their job? And again, I don't put that whole game on Dan Quinn, because at the end of the day, our players also just didn't play well. Our defense players didn't play well. So it was definitely a sour taste. It left a sour taste in a lot of Cowboys fans' mouth that our defense gets shredded by Jordan Love and his Packers team. He immediately goes and becomes a head coach of a division rival in the Commanders, and then brings in multiple former Cowboys onto his team, and they're now in a championship game. You know what I mean? It is definitely a bitter, a frustrating thing for Cowboys fans. Like, listen, some players on this Washington team are guys that just didn't play a lot on the Cowboys. And it's like, well, why is that? You know what I mean? So it's one of those weird things where it's like, Dan Quinn's been phenomenal. You got to give him all the praise. But it's like, it all still points back to, it really still points back to Dallas about their inability to get things done. So shout out Dan Quinn, man.
Shout out Dan Quinn. Yeah, that's
next. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do we want to go into the NFC Championship or go to the AFC side?
I want to finish the division round before we jump into the championship game.
Okay.
I figured let's go ahead and just take a look at the Kansas City Houston game. The Chiefs really kind of had this one held down for most of the game. I know it got like kind of close at the end. Frankly, the offensive line of the Texans, who has not been good all year, simply could not stop the Chiefs' defensive line. They had 8 or 9 sacks. Like C.J. Stroud was consistently on the ground. 8 sacks, yeah. The Texans defense at some point in time in the game just kind of stopped covering Travis Kelce, which is always a interesting defensive game plan for sure. And it just, we talked about it a couple weeks ago going into the playoffs. That we both thought the Texans were probably going to lose to the Chargers. I believe we both picked that. Just because of the way the Texans were just kind of limping into the playoffs with their injuries. And they beat the Chargers, and they just got to a Kansas City team that's like, this team is just much better than you. And the injuries and the lack of offensive line play really, really showed through in this game.
Yeah, and George Karlaftis,
yeah,
he did have 3 sacks. He had 5 total tackles. Shout out to him. I mean, like you said,
also another blocked field goal.
Yes. But at the end of the day, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're gonna be good when it comes to playoff time, especially when you have a head coach like Andy Reid. Shout out to him; he's been amazing for Lord knows how many years now. But this Texans team was just—he
just hit 300 career wins, didn't he?
Yes, he did. The win against the Texans was his 300th.
Hell yeah!
So, shout out to him. I believe he joins. Now I'm blanking on his name.
I'll pull it up.
Bill Belichick.
Keep going.
He joins Bill Belichick and I think Don Shula and somebody else for 300 career wins. So shout out to him. But no, this Texans team was not what we expected. It really hurts that they lost Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell to injuries earlier in the year. It just sucks, man. C.J. Stroud also, I want to call it the sophomore slump. He didn't play as good as he did last year. But, it happens.
A lot of that was also, I think, a very, very depleted offensive line.
Yes. It just, a lot of the holes for this Texans team caught up to them, and it just didn't work out too well. And I know we all don't want to see the only people that want to see the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game are Chiefs fans, but, the Chiefs are just good. No matter how many questions you have about them, no matter what you want to say about them, they just find ways to win.
Yeah, honestly, at this point in time, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I'm rooting for either one of these AFC teams to win a championship because I could not have an NFC East team win a championship. So whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, whoever walks out of this game, that's who I'm rooting for in the Super Bowl. But yeah, like I said, the Chiefs are just the better team. They've been the best team in the league for the past 3 to 4 to however many years you really want to look at it. And yeah, their offensive, their passing game is kind of waking up. Their running game is really, really good. Their defense has been phenomenal. Their special teams have been really, really good. They've had multiple blocked field goals this season. It just seems like everything's like it's weird to say that everything's coming together for them right now because they won 15 games in the regular season, but it was definitely it was off the back of the defense because it seemed like the Chiefs' offense this season was definitely still kind of a step behind, especially the passing offense. But it's now it's you get to the playoffs and all of a sudden they just become a well-oiled machine and everything just kind of starts working out. And it's kind of like LeBron, man. When he gets into the playoffs, you just hit that different gear. And it's all of a sudden you just can't really beat him. So,
unless you're Denver.
Yeah, unless you're Denver. Well, I'm also talking about prime LeBron James. If you talk about the Lakers these past couple years, yeah, but talk about prime LeBron, like Miami, Cleveland LeBron. And then the last divisional game, which I think was the best game, a heartbreaker, an absolute heartbreaker. The Baltimore Ravens lose on a failed 2-point conversion to the Buffalo Bills. Rough. Absolute brutal way to lose that game. Mark Andrews just had a couple head-scratching plays that game with the fumble earlier in the game. And then the dropped 2-point conversion where I've been hearing some people saying it was a bad throw by Lamar. the fact of the matter is he got around, the ball was right in his stomach, and he couldn't hold on to it. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just being one of the best tight ends in the league, you've got to hold that ball in. It is what it is. And so it's a brutal way for this Ravens team to lose in the playoffs, and it just seems like they for as good as a team they consistently are, they just can't make it.
Yeah, 100%. Lamar tried his best.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar went for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He carried the ball only 6 times for 39 yards, but when you have Derrick Henry in the backfield, it's understandable. Justice Hill did have 6 carries for 50 yards, but the story that everyone's talking about is pretty much Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he hold on to the ball? Why didn't he do this? He had the bobbled 2-point conversion. He fumbled earlier, like you said. Lamar did fumble earlier in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Lamar did throw a pick, but this Baltimore team still had a chance to win. With all the miscues that they suffered, they still had a chance to win, and it
literally slipped through their fingers.
Yes, shit happens. And it just so happened that arguably one of the best tight ends right now dropped the pass. Mm. And it happens. It sucks that it happens. It shouldn't happen, but it does. It's human nature. We all mess up. But that was a good throw by Lamar. I don't want anybody on here saying that it wasn't, because it was a good throw. He put it right where he needed to put it, and Andrew just couldn't catch it.
Yeah. And I mean, like some people were like, oh, it should have been more towards the sideline, but it's like, if Andrews couldn't catch it right in his stomach, I don't think him reaching his arms out would have been any better. Maybe it would have been. Like, maybe it would have been, but it's like, yeah. It was not. I had something I wanted to say, but I completely forgot there, that train of thought.
But over to the Bills side, shout out to Josh Allen.
Oh, sorry, I just thought. I just want to say, let's be honest. If they complete that 2-point conversion, it's a tie game. But there was still like a minute left in the game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So there's also a real possibility the Bills just walk down the field and kick a field goal anyway. Mark Andrews catching that ball doesn't guarantee they win. All it does is tie the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a minute 33 left.
Yeah, I was going to say, there was still plenty of time for Josh Allen and that Bills offense to get down the field. And they said all they had to do was get in the field goal range to win the game. So, you can do ifs, ands, and buts all you want, but obviously it's going to be on Mark Andrews for the drop. But him catching that ball, you very much could have still had the same outcome in the game.
Absolutely. And when it comes down to it, the miscues were what really killed the team. I don't believe that the Bills did not fumble the ball. They didn't throw a pick. They didn't really have any miscues, and it was the Ravens that did it. It was kind of like the Bills just be like, all right, we're not going to mess up. We're just going to wait for the Ravens to mess up, and we're going to capitalize, and that's what happened. I mean, Josh Allen didn't have, a stellar game through the air. He went 16 for 22, 127 yards. He got sacked 1 time, no touchdowns, no picks. 10 carries, 20 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, this was probably one of the more underwhelming games we've seen from Buffalo this year, but they just played poised. They didn't turn the ball over. I don't think they had too many penalties. It was just kind of one of them things where it's like, okay, we're just going to sit here. We're going to do our thing. We're not going to be the team to mess up.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the Ravens had too many miscues, too much stuff that happened, and it resulted in Baltimore losing. So, and I don't want to put all the blame on Mark Andrews, because if Lamar doesn't throw that pick, what happens? If Lamar doesn't fumble, what happens? If Mark Andrews doesn't fumble, what happens? Yada, yada, yada. There's too many variables to just kind of sit down and be like, hey, Mark Andrews is the reason why we lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's a bunch of things people could have done earlier in the game, maybe on that drive. There's just too many variables, in my opinion, to say this is the reason why we lost.
100%. It was a lot going on. And again, you just got to look at this Ravens team that they just consistently can't really win in the playoffs. It's a shame, man. They were in the championship game last year, right? Yeah. They were in the AFC championship game last year. I don't know, man. I don't know what this team needs. They're good defensively. You got your good tight ends. They brought in some decent receivers. You have Derrick. Like, I don't know, man. It's something. But let's go ahead and preview the conference championship games. Do you want to start with the NFC or the AFC?
I can start with the AFC.
All right, the Buffalo Bills heading to Arrowhead to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I had it pulled up here at Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Right now, Kansas City is favored by it's -2. So yeah, whatever. So technically, they're favored by 2 points. The Chiefs are the favorite by 2 points. How do you feel about that?
Like we said before, the Chiefs just become a well-oiled machine come playoff time. Yeah. And we've seen these duels before, but I could just be naive in saying this, but I think that Buffalo has the better overall weapons for the offense. I could be wrong. I could be naive for saying that, but I think Buffalo has the better weapons, but KC has the better quarterback. You agreeing with me? No? And when I mean weapons, I mean as an overall group, not just individually, like putting, I think, Dalton Kincaid against Travis Kelce. I'm talking like just as an overall group. I'm just trying to think,
because especially with James Cook, that running game for Buffalo has been really, really good. The thing about the Bills' offense, they've had a lot of people kind of come out of nowhere this season to be really, really good. I think if you look at if you look at the roster, the offense, I think the Chiefs' offense is just a better offense. But with the way the Bills have been playing, they've been playing better. I'd also argue that Josh Allen's been the better quarterback this season compared to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. It's just like it's so hard to pick against the Chiefs, man. It's so hard to just not say, yeah, the Chiefs are going to win this game because they've just consistently won this matchup. Now, no team has ever three-peated in NFL history. So maybe at some point, not only is it karma, but like at some point, history kind of grabs you. It's like, oh, this ain't happening. You know what I mean? But then again, history's made to be broken. So maybe we do see our first ever three-peat. And it would kind of make sense that it's this team. I don't know, man.
If Buffalo's going to win, James Cook is going to be the de facto, I shouldn't say reason they win, but it's going to play a big part as if they can get him going in the run game. And if they can drain clock and keep the ball away from the Kansas City offense and Patrick Mahomes, that's going to be the de facto number one thing, in my opinion. I'm just going to go with Kansas City.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense has been so good all year.
Yes.
They've been so good all year, and it's hard to think that any reason they would just not be good in this game too. Like, you know what I mean?
The only reason I could see that the KC defense folds is if Josh Allen just comes in with a vengeance. He just comes in and is just like, I'm winning this game. You can throw whatever coverages out. You can throw whatever, stunts for the D-line. I mean, you can throw whatever you want. I'm winning this game. And he goes out and throws, 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and rushes for like 2 more. And it just goes absolutely,
I just don't think that Bills offense has that. I just don't think the Bills offense has that. You know what I mean? Like, I especially against the Chiefs, I just don't think the Chiefs even is going to let that happen. They're just not going to let that happen. Again, maybe we come back here next week and I was wrong and Josh Allen lights them up. You know what I mean? But just with everything we've seen with the Chiefs defense, literally the entire season, I don't know. And I don't know, man. It's gonna take. It's hard to bet against. You're like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is one of the best quarterback tight end duos this game's ever seen. And when it gets to the playoffs to become a different monster, Travis Kelce, who had objectively an underwhelming season, all of a sudden gets into the playoffs and has a good game. You know what I mean? It's just it's what happens with this Chiefs offense, and it's almost an unstoppable connection. And I know they've got some other pieces they're still trying to figure out with the wide receiving core, but at the end of the day, man, if you can't stop the Kelce the Mahomes to Kelce connection, I don't think you know what I mean. And yeah, you throw 2 to 3 bodies at Travis Kelce, and this Chiefs running game is no slouch. You know what I mean? Hollywood Brown's back. Like, they have speed. You know what I mean? It's like this Chiefs offense just has so much going on that I don't know if the Bills defense. I don't think the Bills defense is as good as the Chiefs defense. The Bills have a good defense, but I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs playoff offense against the Bills defense better than I like the Bills offense against the Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I got you. Like I said, one of the big de facto things for me is James Cook being able to move the ball.
100%.
And I don't think it's going to happen enough or to the effectiveness that they need. I got KC. Like I said, it's hard to bet against them. I I've done it too many times. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are a 2-point underdog. Do you think? So they're thinking it's going to be a close game. Do you think it's going to be a close game, or do you think there's a chance?
I think it's going to be a classic Mahomes versus Allen. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a classic. Speaking of the odds, Chiefs are favored by 2, but the matchup predictor for ESPN Analytics has the Bills as the favorite at 54.6 to win, the Chiefs at 45.4. So, and anything is possible, but that Chiefs defense, I think, is just too good, and they're going to have to rely on Allen to basically throw the ball around the yard, and it could happen. He could go for 404 touchdowns and they end up winning, but I think it's going to be more reliant on the run game. I don't think that happens. Chiefs win.
The over-under for total points is 47.5. You going over or under on that?
I'm going over.
Okay. Yeah, I think I might. I don't know, man. This wouldn't surprise me if this is like a 20-17 game. You know what I mean? Like with both these defenses in the cold, it's very good chance this could be a run-heavy defensive game. I'll go under just because you went over. I'll go under.
I was gonna say they said that about the Ravens Bills, but they got 52 on the board. So
they did. So we're both going Chiefs. You're going over on the point total. I'm going under. So let's jump to the NFC side, where I wish this game could end in a tie and neither one of them go to the Super Bowl. But hey, objectively, I hope objectively, this being a division game, I think this is going to be a good game. Yeah. I really do think this is going to be a good game. I really hope it is, because the last thing I'd want to see is the Eagles walk, or like the Commanders go into Lincoln Financial and the Eagles just stomp them out and get them up out of there. Because it's like, for a season like the Commanders have had to end like that would just suck. So for the sake of just the NFL and watchability, I really do hope this is a really, really good game. But I as the magical run the Commanders have been on, the Eagles are just the better team. And I know I said that last week about the Lions and Commanders game. I get that. This Eagles team and Commanders team have now seen each other. This is going to be the third time they've seen each other this season. These guys are familiar with each other. And if there's any, like, seeing a team this many times, if there's anybody that can figure out Jaden Daniels, it's the Eagles defense.
Yeah, I mean, the first time they met at Lincoln Financial in Philadelphia, the Eagles did win 26-18, but the second time they met, and the Commanders were home, the Commanders won 36-33. This is going to be a gritty, down-to-the-wire type of game that we all love to watch. I don't know how many points are going to be scored. I can't say for sure if it's going to be them.
The over-under is also 47.5.
I'm going to go under for this one.
I'm going to go under as well, yeah. Philadelphia is a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, but also, like, when they played, I don't know how much Jalen Hurts actually played. Kenny Pickett stepped in, and, Washington ended up winning. Kenny Pickett went 143, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But Saquon's still 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm going to be honest, I would feel more comfortable picking the Commanders if Sam Kosey did not end up tearing his ACL and will be out for the rest of the season. Because he's been one of the studs on that interior line for Washington, and it's going to be hard to try and fill that void, especially when you're going against Philly.
Jalen Carter. Yeah.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
I would be kind of more confident in Washington to be able to get the upset. But with that being said, that's kind of like the de facto for me, the same Kosey injury, ACL tear. You know what? I'm going to ride the wave. I've been riding it so far. We're going with Washington. I'm going with the Commanders.
The Commanders have a very good defense, highlighted by the free agent signing of Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's really helped change the defensive culture over there in Washington. Dan Quinn's a defensive-minded head coach. They get Jonathan Allen back from injury. Like, if there's a defensive line that's equipped to slow down Saquon Barkley, or a defense in general that's equipped to slow down Saquon Barkley, it is this Commanders offense or defense. I don't know, man. this Commanders offense, I'm not really sure how well it's going to play against this Eagles defense. And again, you said they put up 30 points on them earlier this season. Like they can definitely score against them. But I think at some point, the experience of the playoffs also is going to rear its ugly head and be a factor. The Eagles have been in this situation multiple times. They were just in the Super Bowl. Two years ago, they were just in the Super Bowl. So this Eagles team, for the most part, has been here before. They know how to win these games. And this Commanders team came out of nowhere. And, Dan Quinn doesn't have a great reputation of winning big games. Now, again, he won one last week. He 100% won one last week. But the stakes get bigger and bigger and bigger. This is now, like I said, a rookie quarterback. This is a team that's a lot of new free agents were brought in. Like, it's just, I think at some point in time, the ride stops. And again, the Commanders have had a great season. I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But the Eagles team is just, they've been here before. They know what to do. I don't think the pressure is going to get to them at all. And especially, like, it's hard for the pressure to get to this Eagles team when they can just hand the ball to Saquon Barkley. You know what I mean? They can just hand it off. Where, okay, the Commanders' running game has been good with Brian Robinson and stuff like that, but their offense features a lot more Jaden Daniels throwing the ball around. With the Eagles' offense, obviously Jalen Hurts is a big part of the offense, but Saquon Barkley is the engine of that offense, and it's always more consistent to have a great ground game than a great passing game. So leave us on a phone. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one out. I'm taking the Eagles. The 6-point spread, I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, divisional game, I really, really hope it is a close game because I think if it's a big blowout game, it would really, really suck for this Commanders team. Over under 47.5, I'm going to go under. I get it. They put up 60 earlier in the season together. Like they both had 30-point games. But again, everything slows down in the playoffs. And that's where I feel like the Eagles team, with such a great running game, is much more equipped for this playoff run than what the Commanders won against the Lions last week. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to throw the 3 picks that Jared Goff threw last week. Maybe I'm wrong. It very much could happen, but this Eagles team plays a lot better mistake-free football and offense, and I don't think the Commanders are going to be able to take advantage of the mistakes that Jalen Hurts, I don't think the Commanders would be able to take advantage of Jalen Hurts' mistakes because I don't think he'll have as many as Jared Goff did last week.
Yeah, no, I don't foresee that happening with Hurts committing that many, doing what Jared Goff did last weekend with the turnovers. But I feel like one of the big points for this Commanders defense is going to be how their interior D line and Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne play. Mm-hmm. If they can get inside and kind of wreak a little bit of havoc for Saquon, I feel like it could be a big, big day for the Commanders' defense. But it's tough. It's going to be tough trying to stop Saquon. And if you stop Saquon, honestly, to beat the Eagles, I think you got to try and limit Saquon as much as possible and force Hurts to beat you through the air. I know that's not the de facto great game plan, but that's about as best as you're going to get. Because Saquon, or stop Hurts and keep him to under 100 yards passing or whatever and just have Saquon beat you. But we've seen that in the past. Saquon go for 250 and 3 touchdowns and you still end up losing. But I don't know. I'm going with the Commanders. I love the story.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm going Eagles. You're going Commanders. And let's go Championship Sunday. And hopefully when we see you guys back here next week, we will have our kind of quick Super Bowl preview because there's a real good chance we might have a guest next week. And because we're thinking about doing our NBA All-Star ballots with a special guest. You have to wait and see next week who that is. So we'll hold off on that. But one more thing before we get up out of here. Today, a report came out, Jimmy Butler news. The Jimmy Butler trade could happen in the next few days with potential teams such as the Hornets, Pistons, Raptors, and Wizards getting involved as facilitators, per Vince Goodwill. There have been whispers of the Washington Wizards and Toronto Raptors getting involved as well, but it seems the momentum is geared towards this getting done soon, perhaps in the next few days. Detroit and Charlotte could operate as facilitators for a large deal too, sources told Yahoo Sports. So pretty much those teams would just be involved in helping with some salary cap dumping and taking on some salary. Because a team like the Pistons have quite a bit of salary cap room where they could just take on a bad contract and to get a pick involved in it just to help kind of move Jimmy Butler around. With the 3 picks that the Suns just got, with their trade, they traded their 1 pick for like 3 protect. Can you back up from the mic a little bit? I can hear you breathing. There you go. But they traded their 2031 pick for a couple of protected picks, so like 3 of them actually. So, maybe 3 new picks plus a couple teams facilitating. Maybe they do get Jimmy Butler in Phoenix because he wore like black and orange shoes last night for the game, or the other night for the game. So it's very, very clear at this point in time he wants to be in Phoenix. And I guess the Wizards, Toronto, Raptors, the Pistons, and Hornets could help with that trade get done.
Yeah, I mean it'd just be crazy. With everything going on, I don't know. Seeing Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant on the same court together as teammates, it'd be a little weird.
Man, yeah. Well, that is going to do it for our episode today. But, before we get out of here, there's one more shout out I want to do, and it's to Levi. I want to shout you out for your content because Levi finally posted a after 10 months of me begging and pleading with you to post a video. You posted a video. There's a new powerhouse in Ohio, Akron Dynasty, episode 1. How'd it go? How'd you feel recording that?
It was weird. I'm gonna be honest, being by myself sitting there. It felt weird for a little bit, trying to, get things together. I tried to pre-plan a little bit. I did go ahead and kind of fill out the recruiting board preemptively, so I didn't have to, I shouldn't say waste time, but try and fill it and then keep recording while I'm doing that. So but no, it was fun. It was fun. I think it went good. Not too much to cut out. I tried to get from one thing to the other, but episode 2 is going to include week 0, and then I think week 1 against Ohio State. That's going to go as well as you'd think it would. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Hopefully, I actually get some good content from the Ohio State game. Maybe we'll win. You never know. That a video should be dropping either this weekend or next week, whenever I get a chance to record it. So be on the lookout for that.
Hell yeah! Well, I will be there. I'll be there. Shout out George Cooper, a recruit, and my former coach at my Rice Dynasty series that I kind of gave up on because I was watching. Also, I want to shout out myself, kind of in a way, my channel, Cloud. Oh, also, before we move on to my channel, Levi's channel is Garbage Gamer at Garbage Gamer 58. So go check that out for his Akron series, and if he decides to post anything else, and then my channel, Cloud 2K, because I've been having a pretty good run recently. I'm not gonna lie, I'm up to 316 subscribers. I just hit 300 a couple days ago, and I'm up to 316 now. Thank you. It's been a fun week. Just been doing a lot of rebuilds and like me talking to the camera, so it's been a lot of fun and picking up a little bit of momentum going into this whole month of January has been pretty good for my content. So I appreciate everybody that watches my content, Levi's content, both of our content here on the podcast. You can also I do my shorts. You can also find me on TikTok, Cloud2K on TikTok. I try to, whatever shorts I post on YouTube shorts, I try to post on TikTok as well, just to kind of, because they unbanned TikTok after like 14 hours of it being down. We were all freaking out, man, and then it came back, so I figured I might as well use it as a tool before they decide to ban it again if they do. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Anything else you want to say before we get up out of here today?
In the next episode of the Akron Dynasty series, we might get a pick 6 maybe. That's all I'm going to say.
Might get a pick 6 maybe.
If you know, you know.
Yeah. You're definitely right. All right, well, we appreciate you guys watching this week's episode of Time Out with J&G, and we will see you guys next week.